But interestingly enough, another thing that I thought about immediately when he started to describe his depression, and I'm going to give you guys a quote about his depression, right? So if you guys remember in that documentary, the moment he started feeling depressed was actually when he got drafted to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
He was a first round pick. And this was everything that he was working towards. And he just, essentially, if you're a first round pick, you get signed for millions and millions of dollars. So somebody like him coming from a small town in Texas, middle class background, right? This is a incredible accomplishment. And you, outside looking in, you'd expect somebody who achieves that level of attainment to be on top of the world, to feel incredible. And this is what he said. All right, quotes. I had everything I ever wanted. I had money. I had fame. First round draft pick. When I got everything I wanted, I think I was the most empty I've ever felt inside. And that kind of got me thinking about, you guys know that story about Michael Phelps?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just like how he was depressed throughout his entire pursuit. It sounded like I watched that documentary of him. What was it called? 6 Gold, or I can't recall.
So something very common, right? You're working towards this goal, like for Olympic athlete like Michael Phelps. It's every 4 years you're competing, and in 2006, after winning 6 gold medals and 2 bronze medals at Athens Olympics, Michael Phelps said he felt post-Olympic depression for the first time, and this is what he said. You work so hard for 4 years to get to that point, and then it's like you're at the top of the mountain. You're like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Where am I? So you just kind of lose that sense of purpose, right? And I think that's so important for a lot of people, especially when we talk about mental health, that purpose-driven life. And not even in the religious sense, right? You have to have a goal that you're working towards every single day. Otherwise, what the hell is the point really, right? To just simply exist. I think we all as human beings have this innate desire to want to achieve something that's bigger than ourselves. So for example, to be of importance to our communities, to affect other people in a positive manner, right? So these are some noble goals that you're working towards. But unfortunately today, I think especially, for a lot of youth today, we're losing, they're starting to lose more and more sense that that's a possibility for them, that they can actually live an impactful life. And everybody ends up being sort of diminished in a sense, because all we see is the glitz and glamour of social media. We see all these great things that other people are doing, and we forget to tell ourselves that, like, hey, maybe I can't do it like this person, but I can still have a very positive impact in my community, to my family members, to my friends. I can still live a very productive life. And I think a big part of that is goal setting. And when you don't have that goal that you're working towards, a reason to get up in the morning, you can have this profound onset of depression. And that's kind of what I feel like happens with Michael Phelps, in this post-Olympic depression. And the same thing with Johnny Manziel. He's working towards this goal his whole life, and that's all he has his eyes on. And the minute he achieves it, it's like there's nothing else for him, right? Like he says, what the hell's next?
Yeah, honestly, that makes me think about kind of just sports in general. Something that I kind of talked about a little during my residency interviews is all these athletes, especially college athletes, like that is more or less like your identity. It takes up so much time. Like for football, it was basically year round. We'd have 6 a.m. practices. We'd maybe get off like 10, 15 minutes before class, do that. We'd have to go lift. We'd have our meetings. We would have our film meetings. We would have all of our classes, especially being kind of in like the bio pre-med track. Like all I did was study. Like my entire life was either football or studying. And I think a lot of athletes, not just football players, once they move on from their sport, which will always happen,
right?
Like either most people aren't going to the major league for whatever, college ends, and you kind of lose a core aspect of yourself. I think a lot of people end up kind of dealing with these issues, like feeling like kind of worthless, having these depressed feelings where you lose that goal of every single day you wake up, even if it's not something you're necessarily excited about when you're getting up at like 4:30, it's still something to strive for every single day. All right. And then college ends, sport's over, and then you have 40 hours each week that you're just like, oh, I don't know what to do with all this free time now. Like I never had this. I don't have like this goal of something that I'm working towards. Like playing, for a lot of people, playing college, whatever sport is like a main goal of theirs, right? Like all throughout high school, like they're probably like the best kid on whatever team at their high school, get to college and they like kind of achieve that goal, and then at some point it's just kind of taken away from them. And most people would still like to play. Like, I'm 27 now. Like, I still think about playing football like most days.
Well, what was that like for you, Andrew? How did your football career end, and what was like the emotional aftermath of that, and how did you deal with it?
So, sometime in like early college, like my freshman year, I had to medical redshirt because I was in the hospital like up until like a week and a half before camp started. So like I made it to camp, but like not enough like time has passed to play. So in my spring, my freshman year, like we have camp or whatever. At that point, I was like starting running back. We had like a couple of guys kind of in the rotation. Fall camp rolls around, and like maybe a week before our first scrimmage, I get like cheap shot in practice. Like have to go through the concussion protocol. So like I kind of come back for like a couple snaps for a scrimmage, immediately get hit in the head again. And I kind of made the decision then. I was like, I either am choosing to kind of go to med school and put more of my time into that or with football. And I kind of made the decision then where I was like, I'm just going to try just enough to, be on the team, not have to be on scout team. But a lot of my time was going towards getting into med school. So I'd skip meetings sometimes for like research, whatever. My coach was fine with it because he got someone who would go to med school. So probably now when he's recruiting kids, he's like, oh, we had someone go to med school before.
There you go.
So he was like always okay with it. So when it first ended, it wasn't that bad for me because I'd kind of emotionally checked out like 2 or 3 years prior. But maybe like 6 months to a year after, like where the NFL kind of started ramping back up and college football started up again, I was like, wow, like I actually really miss kind of going out there, especially going through like med school, studying for boards. I don't think there was a single day where I was like, I would rather spend like 12 hours doing like football related things and being physically exhausted than just like sitting in a chair for the entire day just studying. So like I think as each year goes by, like I miss it more and more. So for me, it wasn't awful with kind of losing that sense of purpose because I had kind of already abandoned that at that point where it was officially over. I think right around when the football season ended was right when I was having kind of the med school interviews, and I kind of had that purpose of like, I want to go to med school.